One of the things I asked you to do, oh, sorry, perhaps before talking about this, I just say that Maria Antonietta did put a link in the chat box, I think. If you read the article, you'll find answers to some of the questions, and I'll be doing another follow-up one. You were asked, if you had time in the original material, to think about a childhood story, something which had some kind of effect on you early on that you still remember, and that maybe has somehow affected you as an adult. So again, this is something that you need, for me, certainly, I needed time to think about, but it wasn't very difficult. I still have that book, which I will get here. There she is. This is the book that was published in 1944, goodness me. So just at the end of the war, and it was about jeeps which were being decommissioned. Okay. And in fact, the reason I've got the book now, this is not the original. I was really lucky. I found it's been reprinted in 2015 and reproduced by the Victoria and Albert Museum. Isn't that wonderful? Because it is a classic. It's a really strange read now. But I asked myself, why did this book have such an impact on me? And I really don't know. I mean, this is all intuitive. How do you think it might have affected you? I don't know. It's about a Jeep, Jenny, female, and she is the only pink Jeep among all the green Jeeps. So many green Jeeps. I don't know if I can show you the green Jeep. Yes, you can just about see that. Can you see all those Jeeps? They're all green except the one, which is Jenny. And the green Jeeps are absolutely horrible to her because she's different. And they taunt her, and they're mean to her, and they don't speak to her. They bully her. And at the end of the war, when all the military decommission all the Jeeps and stuff, and this happens in Italy, interestingly enough, and they try to sell the Jeeps. And one day, a lovely ice cream vendor comes along the line of Jeeps and says, no, 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 no. Sees Jenny and says, yes, perfect. She's going to be an ice cream van. And so in the end, she wins through. And I don't know quite why this happened. I mean, I've always had a real strong anathema to bullying, that's for sure. I've also had a strange affinity with the color pink all my life. And again, I don't know if that's anything to do with this. Who knows? But it's interesting to explore. And this whole idea about it's good to be different, I think that's an important value that I hold, whether that was influenced at all by this book. So I give you that as an example. What I would love you to do, if you have time, is to think about your own life. And is there a book that you had as a child that somehow had left its mark on you in some way? It's an interesting exercise. So if you have time to do that, and maybe to do it and report back on the 22nd of March, that would be lovely. And if you don't, that's okay. We'll find other things to do. Okay. I think I'm going to chase up. I don't know if I can go back. Okay. Just a few ideas for some more intuitive ways of processing objectives. What you might do, for example, think very hard about what it is that you want, write it down, and then completely switch off. Go and do something completely different and see what comes to mind. This often happens to us, doesn't it? When we're working very hard on something and we think, oh, I can't think anymore. I'm trying to think of something. And you go and make a cup of coffee, you switch off, and poof, an idea pops into your head. So it's really good to switch off and allow our unconscious mind to offer insights, because it will only do that when we're not consciously processing hard. If we want to access the unconscious, which has so much to give us, so many important messages, but we're too busy doing things consciously to pay attention. So we need to build in switch off moments in our life. Sometimes going for a coffee is not enough. We need to do something where we're forbidden from thinking. Going to Ariella's dance class on a Monday has that kind of effect on me. I switch off, I think about other things, and I finish up with some new ideas. Okay, so remember to do that. It's not time wasting. It's very, very productive. I can see Rini nodding. Yes. Find a symbol in the environment. Oh, this is an exercise we sometimes do where I'm stuck for an idea and I think, okay, I'll just shut my mind to that. I'll go outside and I'll notice what calls my attention. And whatever it is, I know there's a connection between that thing and my issue, my problem, my blank, my whatever it is. And I will come back and find the connection between the two, and that will enable me to move forward again. Use the alphabet scramble. Oh, this is a wonderful switching off activity. In it, EYC, by the way, is energizing your classroom. Oh. This is the one I think that Maria Antonietta mentioned that I wrote for Helbing a couple of years ago. It is a wonderful activity where you put the alphabet on the wall, and underneath there's an instruction whether you lift your left arm or your right arm or both. And you have to recite the alphabet and do the movements. It's really tricky and it makes it impossible to think of anything else. So it's a great switching off activity. Sorry? I'm sorry, I can't hear somebody. And the final thing you might think about is who inspires you. So when you're thinking about something, is there a role model who might have useful insights? How would this person approach this problem? So it's, or how would this character in a book approach the problem? Doesn't matter, doesn't have to be a real or person in a film. So just a few ideas. Let me ask you to do something a bit strange. I'm going to show you an instruction on the next slide, and I want you to do it. Can I ask you please to do it cleanly? Don't hang about choosing this or that or the other because you think that's a better one. Please do the first thing that comes into your head, okay? Whatever it is, that's the one. Are you ready? Okay, can we have some suggestions, please, of this one? This is nice and minimalist. What animal popped into your head?
A goat.
A goat. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Leaping around freely.
Lovely. I can just see you up the mountain. Yes.
I was there before your talk.
How wonderful. How wonderful. Anybody else have one to offer?
An elephant. An elephant.
An elephant.
Like a cartoon character, you know.
Yeah, with great big ears.
Yeah, like Dumbo.
Lovely, lovely. Okay. Well, the others of you might like to do that. Let me show you what popped into mind. I was dismayed by this when I first did this activity, by the way, years ago. I learned it from a lady who is on the book list as well, that you're going to get, called Diana Beaver, which I think is very funny, given that the activity was about animals, and her name was Beaver. And at the time, what popped into my mind was not what I wanted. I wanted something elegant, like a swan or a wolf. Or I'll show you what I got. God, and I thought, my conscious mind was trying to push that away, saying, no, 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 no. But my unconscious mind was saying, yes, this is what it is. So make use of it. How do you make use of this? Well, her suggestion, Diana Beaver, was that you use your animal as a metaphor for a kind of mentor, so that when you need some help with deciding something or planning something, you say to yourself, how would my animal approach this? What would they do? What's the connection between my animal and what it is I'm trying to do? And in fact, I've often found that this octopus with his 8 legs is very kind of flexible and multi-purpose. You know, there's a lot going on there. So it has been useful, even though I didn't initially like it. An interesting thing is too, is the way, I don't know if I can go back. Yes, I can. I did this with my daughter recently, the same instruction, and this must obviously be a very cultural thing. I said, Tamsin, allow an animal just to pop into your mind. And she said, a weasel. Because we have a song, a children's song, which is very well known in English, which is Pop Goes the Weasel. And the way that the instruction was phrased meant that she had no choice but to say weasel. So that was interesting. Or maybe she's got 2 young children, so she'd heard that song recently. Okay. Another thing you might do is take a sheet of paper and make it into a triptych. And then on the right hand side, I'm never sure which. Now, if I show you right, is that going to be right? No, the right. That's your right, isn't it? Yours, that's what you're seeing. Terrible doing things back to front. I never know which way it is. Okay, on the right hand side, no, that's your left, isn't it? Left, yeah. On the right hand side is you draw. Oh, forget it. Do it this way. I have it in front of me. On the right hand side, I draw my goal, some kind of representation. Draw is a tricky word. Sketch might be better. Draw is a bit scary, isn't it? It doesn't have to be a work of art, but maybe some colored pens to make it more vibrant, more colorful. Draw, sketch, some kind of representation of what you want. On the opposite side, the left-hand side, your left-hand side, draw some kind of representation of where you are now. So what's your current situation in relation to what you want? And that might not be so colorful. That might be in black and white, possibly, or it might be in fewer colors, up to you. And then the interesting bit comes in the middle. I can show you the middle because I know which side that is. Here, it's a really good idea to put your pen in your other hand and allow yourself to sketch something which connects where you are now to where you want to go. And it's really good to do it with your other hand because it stimulates your non-dominant side of the brain. And it's going to help you come up with new insights. And you need to look at it afterwards and think, what do I learn from doing that? Isn't that interesting? Okay. So left-hand side now, right-hand side future, and middle pathway of how to get there. Okay. And again, you have instructions for this in the material you're going to get after the session, which is fantastic. So you'll have plenty of time to think about it. So just to remind you, but I will give you more detailed instructions in the material. If you get a chance to try out that activity over the interim period, again, brilliant. So we've talked about a possible framework just to sum up. So good idea for getting into a resourceful state. Sit down, think about, write down your objective, talk to people who are good, who know a bit about it, sleep on it. I always think this is so important. I've often made decisions without sleeping on it and they've often not been good. So if you're deciding something important, check it out by sleeping on it. See if you still feel the same the next day. Rethink it if you have to, rewrite it. Check out using SMART or IOE, AEIOU. Practice visualizing success. The more you practice, the more likely you are to move towards it. Do some modeling, find someone who does it and find out how they do it. And explore some intuitive strategies like asking what your animal would do, drawing right-hand side, left-hand side pathway. Find the environment, lots of things that you've got. So you've got lots of resources. The important thing at this stage is to practice them and do it and find out how it works and what you get, okay? This was about storytelling. And we'll talk about that next time, actually. I used a story right at the beginning, which was called A True Story, just about and the horse ranch, remember? Stories are brilliant, and feed yourself stories and feed your students stories that convey positive messages, because it's so much better than telling them directly. Stories are wonderful, they're metaphorical. Milton Erickson used to use stories and produced amazing change in people. Stories are so powerful to help people change and to think differently and to achieve things. So use them. And the point about they're open to various interpretations. Please don't ever ask, what is the meaning of the story to your students, ever. Because there may be many, many more than one. There will certainly be more, and there may be many more. People interpret in different ways. There may be an overriding meaning or an obvious one, but there are always other meanings. I was going to do a guided visualization. I can't because I risk convulsing into coughs halfway through, which would not be very relaxing. So I will keep that one for the 22nd when we meet again, I hope. Also in the material that you will be getting after this session is the guided visualization text. So you can read it and you can read it to yourself, which is fantastic. And this, by the way, is something I've often used with students in the past. If the visualization is quite difficult, or if I think they won't understand it all, I give them the text beforehand. We sort out any problems, and then we do the guided visualization, okay? So it's a way of pre-teaching more difficult vocabulary and structure. So we'll do that next time, certainly. And there, ending with a paddleboard. So we have negotiated a clear path across the stormy harbor. And there we are on the paddleboard. Not looking terribly, terribly confident, but feeling okay, Could do with the trouble with paddleboarding, or one of the troubles with paddleboarding is when you're learning, you're not sure where you are, so you want to look down. But if you look down, you fall off. So you need to look up, but then you don't feel secure because you don't know quite where your feet are. So it's a conundrum, but you gradually get there in the end. Okay, so just to finish, I wanted to say that thank you very much for coming. And thank you for our journey across the harbor together. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. There's loads of material that you've had already. There's loads more to come if you want to look at it, if you have time to. Useful books as well on a list. And see you on the 22nd of March, some of you. And how interactive that is will depend on you. But don't worry, because I have a lot of stuff up my sleeve. And I won't be using a PowerPoint next time. I will be using just me, like Rini did with her session. And we'll be talking about lots of things much more interactively. Okay, Thank you very, very much. I know you're very busy, so thank you for coming. Take care. Bye-bye.